What's going on, beautiful soul? Welcome to my channel. I'm Grace and I'm a self-love coach. In today's video, we're going to be talking about some awesome stuff and it might be a little bit spicy. If you identify as an empath or a highly sensitive person and you feel like you're constantly absorbing everyone's energy, you're in the right place. Today we're going to talk about how to break out of that cycle of absorbing the energy around us by identifying a core belief. We're also going to talk about what works and what doesn't work in terms of becoming our most radiant, empowered, empathic selves. But first, I'm gonna make us some tea since I'm an amazing host, and then we're gonna sit down for a little chat, just you and me. Alright, beautiful, we've got our tea already. Today we are drinking some chrysanthemum tea, which is a Chinese flower tea. This is so good. The aroma is super floral and very light and crisp. So I've got your cup right here for you. Alright, my friend, let's dive right into the conversation for today. And today I want to talk about empaths, right? How many of us tend to absorb the energies around us? I know I have that tendency. And I found out a really interesting thing the other day where I discovered that my propensity for absorbing the energy of other people, specifically like low frequency or low vibrational energy, stemmed from a belief that I didn't know I had. First, I want to talk about one of the most disempowering ideologies that I have heard in the spiritual community, and this is protect your energy. Now let me clarify, this is going to be a little bit spicy. First, I think it's important to understand that protecting one's energy and honoring one's energy, those are two completely separate ideas. So protecting one's energy, when we use that verbiage, right, when we use these specific words, what we are implying here is that we are victims in need of protection from the energetic broadcasting of other people. Meaning we're basically helpless when we're exposed to the energy that surrounds us in our environment. Now, I understand some of us who identify as empaths or as highly sensitive people, yes, we are more sensitive than most of the collective humanity right now to the energies of others. However, and this is the fun part, right? Being sensitive to the energy of other people is vastly different than being powerless to that. So the belief that we must protect our energy from other people often stems from a place of helplessness. So the default response then is to fight for and protect and defend what is ours. There is a place for that. However, when we're acting from a place of fear, like we are with this protection-based ideology, we are also signaling to the universe that we need protection because we are the victims of our reality. Things keep happening to us, right? So we need to defend ourselves, defend our energy. And this vibration, because it stems from a place of fear, is going to attract more of these energetic vampires and things like that into our lives because we're not really signaling to the universe what matters to us and what we do want. Instead, we're signaling from a place of, I don't want this, so I'm gonna keep all this bad juju over here and I'm gonna put me over here and create this separation. Another thing I really don't like about this ideology is the fact that when we say that we need to protect our energy, we are implying that other people are some kind of evil monster that want to steal or poison our own energy. When in actuality, nothing is that personal, right? Sometimes we have the tendency to like be the center of the universe, and while we are, we also aren't. Yeah, wrap that around your mind. It's never really about us. Other people are acting from this place, not because they are intentionally being toxic, or in most cases are even aware that they're being toxic. Usually it's to get some kind of a need met, right? However, these people don't know how to meet their own needs. A lot of energy vampires, what they're trying to do is get their needs met in a roundabout way, right? Because they really have no way of directly meeting that need themselves. They're not equipped, they don't have the tools. Now, on the flip side, honoring one's energy comes from a totally different space, because this comes from a place of love and alignment. This really stems from a space of claiming ownership and responsibility for our energy, which is such a beautiful thing. So when we feel our energetic state kind of getting a little funky, or maybe we feel our energy is being drained, we can honor this realization by recognizing that we are in fact allowing ourselves to be sapped. I know, this is a hard one to understand and accept and really take full ownership for. I know it took me a while too. It can be a little triggering to receive, so remember, spicy, but with love. Now, my friend, what I want you to realize today is that no one has the power to do anything to your energy unless you are allowing it. Now, that's not to say that things don't still impact us, right? We feel certain ways. However, we can still choose to bring ourselves back to this energetic equilibrium. We always have that within our choice. So the idea that no one has the ability to deplete our energy unless we allow it comes from the concept that on a vibrational frequency level, a lower frequency energy such as fear or shame doesn't have the ability to impact a higher vibrational energy like love or joy unless our energetic boundaries are too permeable, meaning that things can come in and leave our energetic boundaries far too easily. So when our energetic boundaries are too permeable, this means that we're allowing our energy to be lowered, right? We're more susceptible to that. Because if we think about an energetic boundary, ideally we want it to be semi-permeable, right? We want to be able to exchange energies with others. So it's not great to have one that's completely rigid and you're like, oh, I'm a solid block. I'm not going to exchange energy with anybody. My energy's mine, your energy's yours. And like is the case for most empaths and highly sensitive people, we often have little to no energetic boundaries. So we're basically like this energetic sponge, right? And there's a reason why, but that's a discussion for another time. So I'd love for you to consider this. A high energetic frequency has the ability to change the frequency of somebody operating on a less conscious level, and vice versa, depending on how strong each energy is. And when I say strong, I mean in its fullest power. And it also depends on how reinforced the energetic boundaries are. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Maybe you meet some person on the street and they're just feeling super unhappy with their day, or maybe they're just unhappy in general in their life. And no matter what you do, this person is just mean and miserable. And a lot of the times it could be because they're committed, whether consciously or not, to staying that way. Same thing, if you're having a really awesome day, even if you come across this person that is clearly in a lot of pain and they're suffering and you're trying to help them and raise their frequency and they're not really responding, it's not going to dampen your day unless you're already energetically weakened. If your energy is not calibrated properly, you haven't taken the time to center and love on yourself, then yes, we are going to be more susceptible to having that too permeable energetic boundary and to having our frequency match the frequency of others. Now, just to touch a little bit on boundaries, there is this misconception too that boundaries are about keeping others out. Really, boundaries are not about saying, okay, you stay over there and I stay over here and get out of my land. Okay, boundaries are really more so about this is where you end and this is where I begin. So see, this here's your energy and this here's my energy, and we can allow them to overlap, but we allow them to overlap in a way in which feels good to both of us. When we begin to learn to identify our energetic boundaries and to strengthen them, we become more skilled at identifying what belongs to us and what doesn't belong to us. Now, when we do feel like our energy is being drained, we have the ability to honor our own energy and to remove ourselves from the situation or to set appropriate boundaries with this other person. However, the key difference is that this comes from a place of love rather than fear. We also become really aware of the fact that as a highly empowered soul living this human experience, we are a channel, right? We are a conduit for divine energy to move through us. The more open we are as a channel, the more energy current can flow through us. So if we were completely open channels all of the time, then no one in the world would have the possibility of draining us, right? Because we're just this constant flow of source energy. However, we're human. And of course, because we are humans in our temporal form, we're going to naturally have some limitations unless you've reached ultimate Christ or Krishna consciousness and you have become the Buddha incarnate in this lifetime, okay? I don't know about you, but that ain't me in this lifetime. This is not my learning. So I'm speaking from a place of, yeah, ideally there's like no limitations, right? But it's also very empowering to recognize where our limitations actually do lie. And the limitation that I'm talking about specifically is the limit on how long we can sustain this open energetic channel. And ideally, we want to be practicing towards opening this channel more and more and more. And while we get there, we need to make sure that we're honoring the space that we're currently at. Now, the key difference towards empowerment is taking complete ownership and responsibility for our energy. And this starts by being able to recognize that as empaths or as a highly sensitive person, we have special gifts and needs, and we need to honor and act accordingly with them. And it's also not anyone else's fault that we haven't learned how to properly hone these gifts, right? And to really master what we were given. That, my friends, falls on our shoulders. So this isn't to say to be harsh with yourself or to be mean to yourself. No, this really comes from a place of self-mastery and being a self-love coach. Part of the self-love is about holding yourself accountable and recognizing where there's room for growth. If you recognize that maybe you've had these ideologies in the past and it's not really working for you, all you're doing is being really scared of the world, this is an opportunity to recognize and to really tune in to your gifts and to take the time and commit to mastering them. It's not coming from a place of judgment for self, it's coming from a place of love because we want ourselves to bloom and grow. So the other day I was doing some inner child work. I had this really startling realization of this belief that I didn't know that I had. Are you ready? Here it is. The belief was that I'm not allowed to be happy because when I'm happy, it reminds other people of how happy they're not. How nuts is that? And this was an agreement that I had made with my 3-year-old self in order to feel safe in my environment, right? So the core belief that was created as a toddler was I'm not allowed to feel okay until everyone around me feels okay. And this is the subconscious programming that I've been operating on for a really long time. Let's talk about this belief, right? And beliefs in general. What exactly is a belief? A belief is an agreement that you made with yourself at a specific point in your life in order to understand, affirm, and subsequently perpetuate the way things are. Beliefs are these subconscious operating systems that dictate how we behave, our patterns of behavior, and why we see the world the way that we do. This creates a lot of times these cyclical patterns that we don't fully understand how to dismantle. Where do these core beliefs even come from, right? Most of them come from early on in childhood, when we're first really trying to understand how to make sense of the world around you. So you make certain agreements with yourself that take root in your subconscious mind in order to understand and process how to survive in your environment. As you take in your external circumstances, the relationships in your life, and how you feel your own internal emotional experience. As a child, you come to certain conclusions to try and make sense of everything that's going on. And then when we take the time to do the deep inner work, right, and we're faced and mirrored with these beliefs that we've had for so long, it's like, wow, this doesn't even make sense. And we have to remember that these beliefs, which are agreements that we've made with ourselves, are really adaptations so we can understand how to survive in the environment that we are in. And a lot of times these beliefs will operate under the conscious level, right? So it's kind of just a murky thing in the background well into adulthood. And this is simply because we haven't chosen to agree or disagree with this agreement that we made with ourselves. Say that 3 times fast. In some cases, we really need to do some deeper digging and figure out what these core beliefs are and why our patterns are so cyclical and we seem to have a really challenging time with breaking out of these patterns. And one more thing that can lend these beliefs to kind of run off course, right? And we don't even recognize that we're still carrying these beliefs is confirmation bias, which is the tendency to interpret information in a way that supports or favors an already existing belief. Now you can see why that might be a little bit of a problem. Once we identify and change the belief, we've taken the first step to unraveling our patterns. So going back to the example that I gave earlier from my own life, that I'm not allowed to feel okay emotionally unless everyone around me feels okay emotionally. We can see how a simple, tiny belief like that can influence the absorption of energy of others. So here's a quick breakdown of this cycle, right? And I've called this the cycle of the disempowered empath. So what we have here in the first stage is that we are exposed to some kind of lower frequency or external energy that is less than ideal. Now, the second part of the cycle happens when we match the vibration of other people and start feeling drained. And this is the part that we need to really pay attention to, because usually this is due to a hidden core belief like the one that I shared with you earlier. And then usually we become a little resentful and fearful of other people who've spoiled our mood. And in the next stage of this cycle, we often become angry. And here's why. Anger is such a beneficial emotion because it is a higher frequency than powerlessness. So really, it's giving us the energy to take action on the things that make us feel powerless. What we choose to do with that anger is a different story. And then the next phase of the cycle is often isolating and gaining energy momentum through anger. And then the last stage is reestablishing energetic balance with yourself, and then the cycle repeats. So how exactly do we break this cycle of disempowerment? It starts by identifying the core belief that is at the root of this pattern. And pay very close attention, because this core belief is going to be something that reinforces giving away your power. Once we've identified this core belief, we can reclaim ownership of that power by accepting full responsibility for whatever happens in our energetic state. Now, that doesn't mean if somebody's being shitty to you that you don't have the right to be upset, because you absolutely do. However, you get to choose, okay, do I let this impact me for the rest of my day and take it super personally? Or do I recognize that this person's in a lot of pain and remove myself from their line of fire? So once we begin to dismantle this old belief through understanding why we adopted this belief in the first place and recognizing this isn't actually true, we can begin to craft a new belief, right? New programming for our minds that is actually beneficial for us. If your core belief was something that was very similar to mine, I'm not allowed to be okay emotionally until everyone else around me is okay emotionally, then we can rewrite it into something like, I maintain my own energy and a high frequency as often as possible because that is what best serves me and other people. Now all that's left to do is to continue reinforcing that belief, right? When you feel the old belief like rearing its head, you can tell by your behaviors and how you feel. Then we take the time to have that conversation with ourselves and our minds and remind ourselves, okay, remember, we're not agreeing to this anymore. This is our new agreement. And in time, confirmation bias is going to do half of your work for you. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation today. I hope it was helpful for you. I know it was a little spicy, and it does come from a space of love. And know that I am doing the work right alongside you guys. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel for more content like this and click that little bell icon so that you can be notified every time a new video is posted. I look forward to growing with you guys. I'm sending you all so much love. Have a beautiful rest of your day.